Good evening and welcome to the Power of Now. Inside, outside on Wellness Wednesday. I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Listen, tonight, Coach Darren is going to show you the fruits of his labor as he talks about growing microgreens, and not just growing, but the benefits of microgreens. And he has a variety of microgreens that he has taken the time to cultivate for us, to present to us tonight, to go over the benefits of incorporating them into your diet.
Yes. Now, we've talked about microgreens before, actually a couple of times, and I'm actually kind of going over them again because we're slowly moving into the growing season in most areas. And microgreens, there are plenty of benefits, and one of the benefits is they're easy to grow, so almost anybody can grow them. You don't need a lot of space. One of the things now, it's actually become the trend that people are going into the microgreen business. But just so you know, it takes a lot of work. So I'm really going over this again because part of it is really just trying to encourage you to start growing your own produce. So as Coach Mitchell said, I'm going to talk about the benefits, and I'm going to just cover some of the microgreens that I've grown here, and you can see they're 5, 7, 9 different varieties, and see how small the space is. You can decide how big you want your microgreen, patch, to be. So this is it's really easy. We were exposed to microgreens 3 years ago.
I think it was during COVID.
It was right after COVID, or
no, I think it
might be right before COVID.
Right before COVID, yes. Right. But
Yeah.
Also, Coach, I know you mentioned, growing, and the growing season is upon us. But really, microgreens can be grown all year round.
Yes.
All year round,
yes.
Because you want to really do them indoors.
Yes.
Right. Unless you have a greenhouse.
Yes, but actually, you can really just do them. You can do them outdoors. Mm-hmm. Almost like you would do other gardening. But the benefit or the cool thing about it is that you can do them indoors all year round. Mm-hmm. So you can get your variety of vegetables, again, indoors all year round. And as I mentioned before, the thing about there's 3 different things you want to consider. There are sprouts, there are microgreens, and then there are the full-grown vegetable. And it's just different stages of a vegetable.
Now, do you have different stages here to show us tonight?
No, these are all microgreens.
Okay.
I've shown sprouts before, and I will actually revisit those as well. Again, sprouts you can just do in a mason jar with water. And the same thing with microgreens. You can grow microgreens in more or less 3. Well, there are multiple, actually, they call media that you can use, and meaning what you can grow them in. There we have here, regular soil, gardening soil.
Here.
Yes.
Okay.
And I say regular soil, and I want to emphasize soil is like the same thing as dirt. All right. So this is like potting soil.
Okay. So this is microgreens that are growing in soil, right? You can see that. Let me get it a little closer so you can see the actual vegetation that's growing on the pod. There you go. Okay, Coach?
Yes. And this one, all right, is grown in what are called leca seeds, L-E-C-A. If you were to Google it, you would get information on them. You could buy them on Amazon, or even get them from
different. Let me see if I can get one out. Yeah, it looks like a little Cocoa Puff.
Yeah, yes. Which we recommend if you are using those, you want to keep them away from children because they do look like Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah.
One advantage to using leca seeds, and again, that's L-E-C-A, is that they're reusable. So once you harvest your, microgreens, or if you're actually growing, full-grown plants, you can still use leca. Is that you can harvest it and then rinse them and then use them again.
And if you're looking for this on Amazon, it's leca balls.
Yeah, yes, leca balls, or I think leca. I was gonna say pearls, but yeah, again, if you type in LECA, they will definitely come up. And you buy them, in bags. So that's that. And then the last one is, almost what they kind of refer to as soilless, mixture. And that's here. It's the cocoa coir, which is basically from the coconut.
Well, it's like coconut hair.
Yes. Oh, something's beeping here.
There we go. I got it, Coach.
Okay.
There we go.
So, first we'll go over what we have here. And in this batch, going back here, this is a mixture of microgreens, but they came in the same pack. So we purchased the seed of what they call mix, and it's a hot mix. So these kind of have a bite to them. So Coach Mitch, remember what that mixture is?
This is mustard, kale, and kohlrabi.
Yes. And just keep in mind that pretty much every vegetable, not all, I know tomatoes is one of them that does not have a microgreen sprout stage, but most vegetables too, and I think there might be two others, but again, 4 different vegetables in there, and combine to give you a hot spicy mix. I think it's 2 different types of...
3 different veggies.
Okay.
Because you got the green kale, the yellow kale, the green mustard, the yellow mustard, and the kale and the kohlrabi. So you got 2 mustard varieties, okay. A kale and a kohlrabi.
Yes.
And they're Brosia.
Yeah.
Part of the turnip collard family.
Yes. Here is basically, these are, pea shoots. Again, you can just eat them more or less as is. The other benefit too, I always emphasize this, is that microgreens, they have 40 times more nutrients than a full-grown vegetable because you're catching them at an early stage. So the nutrient density is contained because it hasn't expended a whole lot of energy in the growing phase. So that's a huge benefit to growing microgreens from a health perspective. So again, pea shoots. Now here, and I'm going to tell you some do's and don'ts. All right. This tray is, I think, it's a 9-inch tray. This one has a variety of microgreens, which is something that you probably don't want to do. I did it again for my own reasons, but the reasons why you don't is because they will actually grow. The microgreens will grow at different phases, and at different stages, or rates is actually what I'm looking for. And doing so, it kind of makes it difficult to move them throughout the various phases, because you got to move them from, sometimes darkness into light. And again, that's only to understand how the plants grow. So by combining them, it makes it a little tricky to be able to pick the tray up and then move it, because as you can see right in here, well, let me just tell you what's here. We got wheatgrass here. We have radishes here. This little patch in here is actually broccoli.
Which should be a row.
No, actually, no, these are 2 different separate, all right?
Oh, okay.
This here is spinach. Now, you see the spinach is not actually growing at the same rate as everything else. So that's kind of problematic. So that's why I would recommend, to really do separate trays. So you probably want to use the smaller tray for each.
Like this size, right?
Unless, like I said, you can use a regular size tray of individual microgreens.
And just plant one.
And plant one
type.
Right. But again, when you're starting out, I'd probably say you want to use smaller trays, because the other thing you got to factor in is how fast you're going to consume them. Because that's something that we found out when we first started. We weren't consuming them fast enough.
Right, because I think I did a 9x13 tray of microgreens. And, even though we ate a lot of salads and we put it on our salads or in our soups or on our sandwiches, it was still a lot.
Yes. And then this last row right here, these are beets. So we got, wheatgrass, what else?
Radishes.
Yes, radishes, broccoli, spinach, which is slowly coming up, and beets.
So just so they can see what each one looks like. front row beets, sort of slow to grow, the spinach. Then we have broccoli, radishes, and wheatgrass.
Mm-hmm. And then in the last tray, what you see here that are growing are turnips. Mhm,
Turnips.
mhm. And then over here, you can see another one that was slow to grow. And this is watercress. Mhm.
It's going to be so good on my salad.
Uh, so you have there, and again, I'm still a newbie when it comes to growing, microgreens. I'm still learning, uh, but I find it again fascinating. It's a very quick approach relatively to growing the entire, vegetable. Like broccoli may take you, I think it might be 75 days. I think
To grow
the full
vegetable.
yes,
Uh-huh.
and then you have to with growing a full vegetable, you got to either grow it in the soil or in containers. It's a little bit more effort, but here by greens you get the experience of the garden with very little space, and pretty much everything here was grown, I think probably within say a 10 to 14 day window.
Yep. And they're ready for snipping and eating.
Yes, now the other thing with microgreens is, for most part, they only can be harvested once, except wheatgrass. Wheatgrass, if you cut it, if you harvest it, it will actually grow again, and pretty much you're going to get two harvestings, out of one sowing. But in everything else is pretty much once you sow them or harvest them. Sorry, they're pretty much done.
Okay. So, Coach, I can go ahead and cut me some of the mixed greens here, and you just snip it midway stem. Leave your leca ball in place. And really, because we've already misted and treated this with a nice mist, so it's clean. It's growing in a clean environment. There are no gnats or any type of infestation. You don't have to worry about that with the leca balls. Soil, you have to be a little bit mindful and just monitor your microgreens when it comes to the little gnats, the fruit. What do they call them?
They're actually fungus gnats.
Fungus gnats, right? So, I mean, really, this is ready to eat in less than 10 days because this is about a week old, if that. So, and when I tell you, it tastes like I have eaten a full, I would say for this particular mix, it's nice and spicy, and it tastes like I bit into a turnip, a spicy turnip, which I love. So, hi.
So,
that is so good.
Yeah, Coach Mitchell mentioned, the gnats, fungus gnats. Anybody has done any, help yourself.
Don't mind if I
do.
Hey, Brother Nate. Hi, Adrian.
If anyone has done any growing indoors, indoor plants, that you may run into, we start getting these little bugs that start flying around, and they're fungus gnats. To my knowledge, they don't cause any harm, but they're very annoying. So you'll have to figure out ways to deal with them, and there are a bunch of natural ways, but they really come when we overwater our soil, because that's what they like. They like to, hatch their eggs in the soil. So, if you monitor the soil, you could probably reduce the chances of even having any fungus gnats.
Right. And I think that's where this comes into play. On preventing the oversaturation, overwatering. So you want to.
Oh yeah, here's the thing. When you start out, pretty much if you're dealing with the soil, or let me go back. If you're dealing with the leca balls, you'll just put some water, in your container, which might be about halfway to fill it.
I don't know if you can see the water line, but it's about halfway up the dish here.
And like I said, with the leca balls, you don't have to worry about the fungus gnats. The thing with the leca balls, though, you can buy to really get your microgreens to really grow, like truly blossom. There's nutrients that you can buy that will actually kick the take your microgreens to a whole nother level. Or again, you can use just plain water. These will basically just be in water. And then here in the soil, and even with the coconut mats, all right, what you do is, after they sprout, you'll just go every day and you'll just mist them sometimes twice a day.
Just like that. That's enough. That's enough.
And like I said, you just want to keep, you want to keep your soil moist, but not wet.
Just hydration, just like us. Plants need to be hydrated as well.
So again, that's with the soil. And when you first start with the soil, one of the things that works if you're dealing with fungus gnats, if you're growing anything inside, is to start bottom watering your soil. Because again, they like to go to the top of the soil, and that's where they, again, bury their eggs, and then you just get these little gnats flying around, and they really are annoying.
They're really hard to eradicate.
Yes.
So you want to try to prevent them from even occurring.
Right.
Up front. Nate says that black dirt is good for headaches. 2 spoonfuls full of red clay dirt is good for gut health.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And we might do a session on red clay because we are in
The
red clay land down here in North Carolina. So you see red clay here is everywhere.
Yes. So again, you want to bottom water your soil. And then over here with the cocoa, the coconut mats, more or less, or the cocoa coir, you can do the same thing. You just mist it. And you just want to keep moist, and depending on what the humidity is in your home, like I said, you may want to mist them a couple times a day. Just keep the media, wet, and you can harvest out to pretty much everything here except the spinach, and the beets probably need a couple more days, but the spinach is going, needs a few more days. Not even sure if it's going to actually.
I see sprouts.
Yeah,
There's something coming out. It's just going to take a little longer.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just hold off and probably harvest everything else. Once you harvest it, then it's you want to probably put it in the refrigerator, probably in a Ziploc bag, and you have, I'm gonna say on average probably about 5 days now to consume them before they start to wilt. How do you want to use them? These are quick things to throw in your smoothies, in your salads. We've all probably had, microgreens. When you go out to a restaurant, they are normally just used for, decoration.
They're garnish.
There's garnishes on our food. Sometimes people will eat them, but sometimes you'll sit to the side and not think much about it. But now, like I said, you know how to grow them. Again, it is great for nutrition because it has more nutrition than the actual vegetable, and it takes up a lot less space. So for those who, if you're trying to lose weight, and just had a couple conversations about this, when you're trying to lose weight, the focus is always on less calories. And I just want to say, you're better off focusing on more nutrition, eating nutritiously versus worrying about calories. Why is that? Because calories are not the same. Fundamental principle, calories in, calories out. But 100 calories from a Snickers bar is totally different than 100 calories from, let's say some spinach or kale. So eat nutritiously and do that. And you also be able to eat more, right? Because it's, nutrient dense,
and it's not empty calories.
Right.
We're working on a greenhouse, Nate. We're working on a greenhouse. You have to have the right one, and you have to have the right location. So we're working on a greenhouse. And for anyone who does have one, this is the perfect growing product
Yeah, you know, like I
for your
said,
greenhouse.
I've seen people grow in, greenhouses, people growing in sheds. Here's the thing. Here's what you need. First of all, naturally you need seeds. And pretty much the same seeds that you buy to grow the full-grown plant can be used to grow sprouts and used to grow microgreens. It's pretty much the same seed. Again, it's just different stages of the plant. Now, and with microgreens, you're basically laying the seeds on top of your, growing media. So, there's not like inserting the seed into the soil like you do when you're growing a full-grown plant. That's one thing. Now, we do create the greenhouse effect. The other thing is, besides the seeds, you need what you're going to decide to grow them in. I have found that for the most part, soil tends to give the best yield so far for me. I won't say that that's the norm because I've seen really great yield with leca balls. So,
But I think the cocoa core is good as well, because I know when I first started and I sowed the microgreens in the cocoa core, that I got a full tray.
yes.
So as far as this, the growth rate, I'm not sure if, soil versus the cocoa core or, the leca balls, I don't know because we haven't measured that
Yeah.
yet.
So again, I'm still doing some experiment to really find out which growing platform works best.
Okay.
Because again, there are other things that are involved, but again, you have three choices. The other thing too is the cost. A pack of seeds you can get as cheap as 25 cents a pack if you go to the dollar store, 50 cents a pack, say at like Walmart, and is there some quality between the seeds? People have their preference, and the quality usually is the germination, how many of the seeds actually will produce something. But again, you can get started. Leca balls, you can buy by the bag, relatively inexpensive, and they're reusable more so than with the soil or the cocoa mats. But again, the cost is relatively inexpensive. And like I said, you can grow, as much as you want. The other thing, almost forgot, is you're going to need especially during the winter, if you're growing indoors, you're going to probably need a light. Now, you could buy a grow light, or you can use what a lot of indoor gardeners use. They call them, the shop lights that you normally see. And you can buy them and they're on chains, which you're allowed to adjust the height. But that's basically it. Your seeds, your growing media, and lights.
Containers.
Yes, in the containers. And, I've seen a gentleman, he has grown microgreens in just about any and everything. So you can really do this. It's not a lot of cost involved. Just have an open mind. It may take a couple of tries to get them right, but for the most part, if you get the right growing media, and then you just throw your seeds on. Most of them, you just got to put them in dark for the first few days for them to germinate. And then after that, put them in light and just let nature, take care of the rest other than, misting them.
I think it's a great project for the kids or the grandkids as well, because
Yes.
it gets them familiar with the foods that they eat. So, and it, like my grands love broccoli. So they would be fascinated to see just how broccoli starts out, right? As a leafy vegetable or plant. And then it, develops into this beautiful crown of broccoli. So I think that would be something that the kids would enjoy, especially if you're showing them interest, and investing in that.
And like I said, here with the wheatgrass, for those who get it to my hardcore health fanatics, sure you probably have had wheatgrass, incorporate wheatgrass into your regimen, you know you can go get a shot of wheatgrass, and it may cost you a couple of dollars if you go to a health food store. They'll give you a little shot about that. Why not just grow your own wheatgrass for cheaper than that, and you can grow as much as you want. That's up to you. And now you have it, and you can just snip it and throw it in your smoothie, and keep it going.
Literally pennies on the dollar.
Yes.
With very little effort. So your ROI is significantly higher than going to the store and buying it out of convenience.
Which is
right?
pretty much, with all of the things that we started growing. And we grow, like I said, from seeds, we grow from scraps, meaning the leftover part of a particular produce. We've been trying different things, and it is amazing how nature works. So definitely consider it, and you can jump in, like I said, with microgreens, which is why we went back and to microgreens, because it's just an easy entry point into growing your own food.
Absolutely. And we enjoy it.
Yes.
And we hope you do too.
Yes.
Any other pointers or tips, Coach?
No, I think that's it. I kind of just went through things. I hope I didn't go too fast. But again, it's just the exposure. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us.
I'll go back and replay this video.
Yes. And that's pretty much about it.
All right. Listen, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight for Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesday. We really hope that you take some of these suggestions and ideas, make them your own, incorporate them into your health and wellness journey. Join us back here on Tuesday for another live, invigorating, empowering, and encouraging discussion on the power of now, Tuesday at 8 p.m. And we'll be back next Wednesday for another episode of Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesday. Have a great night.
Good night.